The desert wind howled across the crimson dunes of Cathara 9, carrying with it the whispers of a civilization long dead. Rayan Solis stood before the towering metal giant, his weathered hands resting on his hips as he studied the ancient war machine with the practiced eye of a mechanic who'd seen too much and fixed even more. Vorthon. That's what the locals called it. The Eternal Sentinel. A guardian construct from the old empire, built 10,000 years ago to defend against threats that no longer existed. Now it stood silent, half buried in rust-colored sand, a monument to forgotten wars and extinct species. They say it killed 300 soldiers the last time someone tried to approach it, said Mira, Rain's assistant, her voice crackling through the comm unit. She'd wisely chosen to remain at the transport vessel, 3 kilometers away. Rayan grunted. That was 50 years ago, and they were trying to salvage it for parts. I'm here to fix it. There's a difference. All the difference in the world, kid. He approached slowly, his boots crunching on the crystallized sand. Vorthon stood 40 meters tall, a humanoid construct of alien metallurgy that seemed to drink in the light rather than reflect it. Its armor was segmented in ways that defied human engineering, flowing curves that somehow suggested both elegance and lethality. One arm ended in what looked like a cannon, the other in bladed appendages that could probably slice through a starship hull. Most people saw a weapon. Rain saw a patient. The closer he got, the more details emerged. Bless scoring from energy weapons. Patches where the self-repair systems had failed. A massive crack running down the torso where something catastrophic had struck. This wasn't just an old machine. This was a wounded soldier, abandoned on a battlefield that time had erased. Vorthon, Rain said softly, placing his hand against the construct's leg. The metal was surprisingly warm. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help. Nothing happened. He hadn't expected it to. The Guardian had been dormant for centuries, its power core cycling at minimal levels, just enough to sustain the most basic functions. Waiting. For what? Nobody knew. Rain pulled out his diagnostic scanner, a hybrid device he'd built himself. Combining human ingenuity with salvaged alien tech, he pressed it against Vorthon's armor and waited as it interfaced with systems that predated humanity's first ventures into space. The readout made him whistle low. You really are something, aren't you? Quantum-locked power core, adaptive neural network, self-evolving combat algorithms. He shook his head in admiration. Whoever built you didn't want you to just fight. They wanted you to learn. He spent the next hour mapping the Guardian systems, identifying the cascade of failures that had brought the mighty Vorthon to its knees. The primary power conduit was severed. 3 of its 6 neural processors were offline. The self-repair nanites had exhausted their raw material reserves centuries ago. Any sane person would have walked away. The Galactic Council had declared Vorthon too dangerous to reactivate. The Catharan government had quarantined the entire zone. Even the scavenger guilds, who feared nothing, gave this place a wide berth. But Rayan Solis hadn't survived 2 decades as a frontier mechanic by being sane. He'd survived by understanding that every machine, no matter how alien or ancient, was built with purpose, and purpose could be reasoned with. All right, big guy, he muttered, pulling out his plasma cutter. This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. He began to work, cutting through layers of armor that had withstood weapons fire that would have vaporized a human ship. His tools were primitive compared to what had built Vorthon. But Rain had something the original engineers didn't: desperation, creativity, and the peculiarly human talent for making things work with whatever was available. Hours passed. The twin suns of Cathara 9 reached their zenith and began their descent. Rain's hands moved with practiced precision, rerouting power conduits, bypassing damaged systems, jury-rigging connections that would have made any engineer weep. Rayan, Mira's voice cut through his concentration. I'm picking up energy readings. The Guardian is... The ground trembled. Rain stepped back as Vorthon's systems began to surge with power. Warning symbols he couldn't read flickered across its surface. The cannon arm began to move with a grinding sound that echoed across the desert. This was it. The moment where he'd either proven himself a genius or gotten himself spectacularly killed. Easy, Rayan said, holding up his hands. I know you're confused. I know you're angry. 10,000 years is a long time to sleep. But the war is over, Vorthon. Your people are gone. Your enemies are gone. Everyone who built you. Everyone you were meant to protect. They're all dust now. The Guardian's optical sensors flared to life. bathing Rain in crimson light. He could feel the targeting systems locking onto him, calculating 1,000 ways to end his life in milliseconds. "But you're still here," Rain continued, his voice steady, "and so am I. I fixed you because you deserve to be fixed, not as a weapon, as someone who served with honor and got left behind." The silence stretched. Somewhere in Vorthon's quantum processors, decisions were being made at speeds that defied comprehension. Combat protocols warred with preservation subroutines. Purpose struggled against programming. Then, slowly, the targeting lock released. The cannon arm lowered, and Vorthon took its first step in 500 years. Rain exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. The Guardian knelt, bringing its massive head down to Rain's level. For a long moment they regarded each other, human and machine, mortal and eternal. "Yeah," Rain said with a tired smile. "I figured you'd understand. Warriors recognize warriors, right?" Vorthon's optical sensors pulsed once, an acknowledgement perhaps, or maybe just a simple thank you. As the sun set over Cathara 9, a human mechanic and a 10,000-year-old alien guardian stood together in the desert, both survivors of their own wars, both finding unexpected purpose in a galaxy that had moved on without them. Some said only a human would be foolish enough to repair what should have stayed broken. Rain Solus knew better. Only a human would be stubborn enough to believe that nothing and no one was beyond saving.